Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am here as a co-host for Horror Mayhem. This is an event created by the Bookish Bryants to encourage people to read horror in the month of May. Now, I am not the only co-host for this event. There are many other co-hosts, so many that I am not going to read out a list here on the video. I will put a list in the description below, because by the time I finish and post this video, there very well could be an additional co-host or two. Now, in this event, the Bookish Bryants are encouraging people to read short works of horror. That will be a novel under 250 pages in length, a novella, or a short story. Any one of those is good, as long as you're just reading something in the horror genre. Now, this is going to be divided up into 4 weeks, and each week is going to have a different theme. The theme for week 1 is supernatural monsters, creatures, which can include cryptids. Now, I'm not going to go for the traditional vampire, werewolf, or even Bigfoot. I am going to go for a subgenre of horror that was popular in the 70s and 80s, and that is the killer animal genre. Now, much like I did for March Mystery Madness, I am going to give the viewers of this video an option to select which book I should read in this genre. I have 6 books about 6 different types of killer animals, and you can vote below telling me which book I should read. Now, there's no wrong choice here. It's just which one you think would be most interesting to hear about later. And I can easily just pick one myself, but let people vote and see what comes up. So, book number 1 is arguably the most famous and maybe even the best. This is The Rats by James Herbert. Now, this is a book that I read many years ago. I don't remember much about it, so it will be like I'm reading the book anew. I also have the 2 sequels to The Rats on my shelves. Option number 1, should I read The Rats? Option number 2, another very famous book in the genre, and that is Night of the Crabs by Guy N. Smith. Giant crabs come up on the coast of Wales and eat Welshmen. Yum, yum, yum. So, should I go for option number 2, giant crabs? Option number 3, and now we're going into the more obscure books. Published in 1978, Rattlers by Joseph L. Gilmore. I know nothing about this book. I know no one who's ever claimed to have read it, but it's a book about rattlers. Option number 3, should I read Rattlers? Option number 4, The Spiders by Richard Lewis. Now, I have read a book by him before. That was The Devil's Coach Horse, published in the United States as The Black Horde, and that was about a roving band of carnivorous beetles eating people. It was okay. So I sort of imagine this is going to be the exact same book with the beetle scratched out and spider written in instead. Should I read option number 4, The Spiders? Option number 5, Scorpion by Michael R. Linaker. This could be a book about one big giant scorpion or many other scorpions. Criminolly read the sequel to this book not too long ago because he didn't have the first book in the series. And he described the scorpions as big as a dog. Now, I would not want to meet a scorpion as big as a dog. So, should I read option number 5, Scorpion? Option number 6, Killer Flies, Mark Kendall. I believe Flies gestate in dead flesh and then go out and eat living flesh. So should I read option number 6, killer flies? And now on to week number 2, and this is Gothic horror. The Gothic horror novel I most want to read is The Monk by Lewis. But that is way too long for this event. It is 500, 600 pages long. So I had to go out searching and decide upon a shorter Gothic work. And doing some Googling, I came across a book site called Book Riot, and they mentioned that essentially you can consider all the novels of Shirley Jackson Gothic horror. She is, of course, most famously known for The Haunting of Hill House and We All Lived in the Castle. Those are both novels that I've read before. So I decided to go for one of her lesser-known novels, which I presume will also be Gothic horror, called The Sundial, where a group of people go to a house that they have just inherited. So I presume it's going to be some sort of mayhem in a haunted sort of house. The Sundial by Shirley Jackson. Week number 3 is cosmic horror. Now, cosmic horror can be a little harder to define. Essentially, it is horror that comes from another world or outer space. And anything by H.P. Lovecraft, like The Mountains of Madness or The Dreams in Witch House, or a number of other stories, including like A Call of Cthulhu, could be considered cosmic horror. But what I wanted to do is pick a book that I don't see talked about too much on BookTube. No, I do not have a physical copy, and that is 20 Days in Turin, and the author is Giorgio di Moria. And I'm just going to read off a description from the internet. Written during the height of the 70s Italian domestic terror, a cult novel with distinct echoes of Lovecraft and Borges makes its English language debut. In the spare wing of a church-run sanatorium, some zealous youths create the library, a space where lonely citizens can read one another's personal diaries and connect with like-minded souls and dialogues across the ether. But when their scribblings devolve into the ugliest confessions of the macabre, the library's users learn too late that a malicious force has consumed their privacy and their sanity. As the city of Turin suffers a 20-day phenomenon of collective psychosis, culminating in nightly massacres that hundreds of witnesses cannot explain, the library is shut down and erased from history. That is, until a lonely salaryman decides to investigate these mysterious events, which the citizens of Turin fear to mention. Inevitably drawn into the city's occult netherworld, he unearths the stuff of modern nightmares. What's shared can never be unshared. An allegory inspired by the grisly neo-fascist campaigns of the day, the 20 Days of Turin has enjoyed a fervent cult following in Italy for 40 years. Now, in a fretful new age of lone wolf terrorism fueled by social media, we can find uncanny resonances in Giorgio di Moria's vision of mass fear, a mute, palpitating dread that seeps into every moment of daily existence. With its stunning anticipation of the internet, the apocalyptic repercussions oversharing, this bleak, prescient story is more disturbing and pertinent than ever. And I did find this on a list of books listed as cosmic horror. So we'll see how much cosmic horror is in here. It looks like a fascinating book. And the last book theme is folk horror. Now, I had a little bit of difficulty coming up with a decision for this one. All the books that I have that could be considered folk horror are too long. There's a book called The Pines by Robert Dunbar, which is about the legend of the Jersey Devil. There's also a book called, I have a book called The Reddening by Adam Neville, and it says right on the cover, folk horror. But both those books are over 400 pages in length. So I decided to go and reread a really great novella by T.E.D. Klein, and that is The Events of Poroth Farm. This novella was originally, it was rewritten into a novel called The Ceremonies, which is excellent, although it does have its issues, and was definitely mentioned as a folk horror novel on one of these other co-host channels. But that again is over 500 pages long, and good luck finding it as a paperback. You can get it as an audiobook, which is an excellent audiobook, by the way, but you're not going to find the paperback of The Ceremonies. But The Events of Poroth Farm is great, and you should have no problem finding this. And that is what I am going to read for Horror Mayhem. Please don't forget to vote on my killer animals. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day. Goodbye.